Welcome to Messages from Light with Nikki Avery.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Nikki with Messages from Light, and today I want to talk about your divine spark. Now, we all know that none of us get through life unscathed. And when we're talking about our divine spark, we're talking about our God essence. We're talking about our soul essence. We're talking about our internal divinity. Now, our internal divinity already knows all of the experiences that we're going to have. And it knows how to integrate those experiences to best suit the purpose of our life. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you guys about today. Because I'm having a lot of people coming to me, talking to me about their experiences. And they're seeing them in a very negative way. And you shouldn't. Because each of these experiences was meant to happen as it did. Whether you like to admit that or not, it's the reality of what our life is. It's the reality of what being here is. Each of our experiences are meant to happen. And our divine spark is innately tuned to deal with those experiences in whatever way is best going to suit our life and our life mission. Now, for me personally, this has always been absolute. And I say that because I've seen how differently our divine sparks can relate. I've told you guys in other videos, I did not grow up in a happy home. I did not grow up in a pleasant childhood. I came from a very violent background. And I have a sibling that went through almost an identical experience as me growing up in that household. And yet, regardless of the absolute similarities of our experiences, we could not be more different. I mean, we are polar opposites in how we integrated those experiences. And it's all based on our own internal divine spark. It's based on your own internal divine voice. Now, we all have this internal battle, and we've talked about this before, but for this video, we're going to call these two warring voices. The voice of light, which is the voice of your divine spark. And then we're going to call the other one the voice of fear. Because that's the voice of your human emotions. That's the voice of your human side. And it doesn't have the understanding that your divine spark does. Okay? These two voices are completely opposite. Your divine spark only knows your beauty. It only knows your purpose. It only knows your plan. It only knows the beauty of what your soul truly is. Okay, your divine spark only knows how to encourage you. That is your voice of light. Your voice of fear is something totally different, guys. Your voice of fear is your human voice. It knows only your fear and your ego and your shame. It knows only your negatives. Do you understand? Now, for me, my divine spark, my voice of light, was always a rebel. And that started from the time I was tiny on. I mean, still in diapers, guys. And any of you guys that are parents that have kids of your own, you know this. When your children come into this world, they come in with their own spark. They come in with their own personality. They come in with their own way of viewing things and their own way of doing things. And when we as parents are working with our children, we learn that each child we have to work with differently according to their divine spark. Because each of their sparks is going to integrate differently and integrate those experiences differently. I have 5 kids. If I set them all down and ask every single one of them about the exact same experience, I assure you, they would all 5 give me a complete different perspective on that experience. Because it's going to be conditioned by their divine spark. For me, it was always a rebel. I mean, guys, from the age of, 1.5, I was constantly breaking the rules. I was doing everything I wasn't supposed to do. If I was told that I couldn't do it, I had to try it. And I went on like this a big majority of my life. I still do it. More so today than for a while. but we'll explain that as we go through the video. For me, that divine spark was always very vocal. And in my early life, I never had a problem listening to it. I never doubted it. That voice of fear didn't come up until I was around 9 or 10 years old. And at that point, that voice of fear came in because of my experiences. And so every time there would be an experience where I felt the need to stand up, I then found myself in this internal war. And we all have these two voices. We all have this internal war within ourselves that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. We have our voice of fear and our voice of light. And as I hit 9, 10 years old and then started moving into my teenage years, that voice of fear got a lot louder because my experiences had taught me on a human level that I needed to be very careful what I was doing. Because if I didn't weigh things out very carefully and I didn't do things in just the right way, it could have violent consequences. Now, that voice of light never went away. It was always there. And when I was truly in need of it, when I was in the darkest moments of my life, guys, that voice of light stepped up in a big way. And it was always there to push me to the next level, to the next step. That voice of fear was with me when I was 13. And that voice of light was with me when I was 13. And at 13, I chose the voice of light. And I managed to remove myself from my father's household. I did it the whole time hearing the voice of fear on the other side screaming at me that I was going to die. There was no way my father was letting me out of his house. And the voice of light was on the other side constantly saying, that's not true. You can do this. You can free yourself from this. You don't have to live in this way. You're stronger than this. And I listened. And guess what, guys? It worked. At 13, I got myself out of my father's house. Because I listened to that voice of light. The voice of light and the voice of fear are always there, and they're always battling. And depending on what your focus has been, one's always going to be louder than the other. But that voice of light never leaves you. It's always with you, and it's always helping you integrate your experiences. If you've been feeding the voice of fear, it's going to be louder, but that doesn't mean it has to stay that way, guys. You can change it. I keep telling you guys, this is all in your hands. It's all up to you. Okay? I married at the age of 16 because I let the voice of fear take over. And I listened to that voice when it told me that I was about to get myself locked back into a bad situation if I didn't marry. The reality was, getting married was the bad situation. Because I was 16, guys. I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready to be married. I wasn't ready for a lot of things. But it's what I did. Because I allowed that voice of fear to tell me that it was the only option I had. At the age of 20, the voice of light won out. And I removed myself from that marriage. I didn't just remove myself, guys. I removed myself across the United States. I moved across the U.S. to end my marriage. And I did it because the voice of light was telling me I had to. I had to free myself. I had to get away. Now, what I didn't realize at that time was that the voice of light was telling me I had to get away from my daughter. Because I found out a month later that I was pregnant with my oldest daughter. And guys, this was all happening around 2000. So when Y2K was going on and that whole big scare of the world's going to end was going on, I was personally deconstructing my life. I was ripping it apart piece by piece because I had to. Because my life was built from the voice of fear at that point, and it was not built from the voice of light. And once I realized that, I had to change it. And don't think I didn't doubt, guys. I did. I packed everything I could fit into an old, just ratchet car that barely ran. It had no heat. And I was driving into the mountains in this car in the beginning of December. I didn't know what I was doing, really. I just knew I had to do it. And I got in the car and I drove. And there were, I don't even know how many times I thought about turning back. I don't know how many times I thought about just turning around and going home out of fear. And yet that voice of light was always there saying, no, you got to keep going. You got to keep going. This is the right direction. And I listened. Even when my car stalled out on the top of a mountain in West Virginia at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was standing on the side of the road wrapped in blankets, scared to death because I could just see everything that I owned being destroyed. And instead, the voice of light was there and told me, just hold on. We've got you. We didn't bring you this far to let you fall. We didn't get you all the way here to let you fail. And behind the semi that I thought was going to destroy everything that I owned came a little car with a earth angel, is the best way I can describe her. It was a lady who was running late to work and was taking a route that was not her typical route to go to work because she was running late. And she just happened to come along right when I needed her the most. She pulled off. She helped me move my car. She took me to a gas station so that I could get a tow truck. And I knew then that that voice of light would never let me down. It would never turn its back on me. It would never send me in the wrong direction. Even when I was scared and the voice of fear was trying to convince me that I was going the wrong way, I knew that if I just kept listening to that voice of light, they would send me the right way. And they always did. They always did, guys. That voice of light has been with me my whole life. And it's with all of you. You have to decide which one you're going to listen to. Because if you're listening to that voice of fear, guys, you're going to keep cycling through these same negative experiences and you're not going to find the growth that you're looking for. You have got to listen to your voice of light and you have got to integrate what that voice is telling you. Because it's not always easy, okay? It's not an easy thing. But if you will listen to that voice of light and you will trust it, I assure you, in your darkest moments, it will lead you where you need to be. It will bring you out of whatever you're in. Guys, we can never be off of our path. We can never be going the wrong direction, not truly. Because our divine spark and our voice of light will never allow that. It inherently cannot allow us to go that far off of our path. Your voice of light is there for a reason. Guys, don't ignore it. Don't ignore what it's saying to you. And pay attention to what voice is trying to instill fear. And what voice is trying to instill courage. Because we can mistake that very easily, guys. Very easily. My voice of light has been very loud for a long time now, because I figured out that that was the voice that would help me. That's the voice that would save me. And it doesn't mean that I don't still hear the voice of fear, guys. Let me tell you, my voice of fear works overtime, especially when it comes to self-doubt. My voice of fear works overtime, but I don't let it stop me. I use it to drive me. I use my voice of fear to feed my voice of light. So the more my voice of fear tells me that I can't do something or that I'm not good enough, the more it makes me want to fight against it. The more my voice of light steps up and says, you know what? You're not convincing us of that. We are good enough. We can do this. I am strong enough. My voice of fear is still there, guys, but it's a whole lot quieter than it used to be, and it's not nearly as hard for me to subdue now. If you can get in alignment with your voice of light, and you can understand that, guys, that is your divinity. That is your divine spark. That voice of light is your divine. Follow it. Follow it, guys. I know sometimes what it says for you to do may seem a little crazy. It may sound a little off the wall to you to begin with. That's okay. Doesn't have to make sense to you. That's not its job. Its job is to help you and to push you forward. Listen to it. Trust it. Know that that voice is there for a reason, and know that if it is anything that is telling you to fear, then you are listening to the wrong voice. Because the voice of light never tells you to have fear. The voice of light tells you to be fearless. Anything that's telling you to have fear, to have anger, to have violence, to have negativity, that is not your voice of light, and you need to kick it out. And until you do, it's going to be the louder voice, because it's the voice you've been feeding. Do you understand? Don't feed that voice. Feed your voice of light. Recognize your divine spark. Step into it. Know that that divine spark is your absolute salvation in every situation. It's there for you. It's there to guide you through the tests that you yourself have set up. Don't back away from it, guys. Don't run from it. Embrace it. And then kick the crap out of your voice of fear, because you don't need that one. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope you got what you needed from it. I hope all of you guys are dealing with this moon energy better than I am. It's had me a little out there for a few days. So I haven't done many videos this week. I am going to work to correct that, and should have some stuff going up tomorrow and this weekend as well. I hope that you guys have a great day. I hope you have a great weekend. Please let me know how things are going with you guys. Let me know what your voice of light is telling you today, and what it's pushing you forward to work on in your path. Please like, share, subscribe. Check out the website if you haven't. It is awakenlight.com. There is a special up there right now for Billy and I doing a twin flame, divine masculine, divine feminine session for you guys, where you will actually have both of us working with you at the same time. It's a really cool thing. It's an excellent way to get a reading. If you've never tried it, you guys should definitely look into it. Until next time, I love you guys. Keep growing your light. Bye.